What's up, my fellow developers, and welcome back to the Dev Shop. So today we're going to take a look at our UI editor, and after doing that, we're going to set up a simple HUD that we can later then connect to through code and then later animate. So here we are in the window, and we have our usual file, edit, view, preview, and help, which gives us our documentation tutorials in the forum and things like that, giving feedback if you need to use that. Our preview is basically the same button as over here. If you want to preview the UI, how it's going to look inside the game window or inside the dimensions that you set for the UI editor. Going a bar below, we have a new. We're going to touch on this a little bit more after the fact because we're going to deal with this more often than not. We have our snap to grid. That should be pretty self-explanatory. We have our dimensions, which gives us different widths and heights for your canvas. I usually set it to 1080p, 1920 by 1080, but you have several options depending on what kind of game you're making, especially for mobile and things like that. We have a zoom option. We have our tools for moving, selecting, rotating, scaling, and of course the preview button over here for easier use to get to. As you can see here, we have our canvas, and if you go to view, we have several options that we can look at to switch out our views and add different things. When you first open it up, you're going to have the animation editor right there, sorry. And since we're not using it in this video, I just removed it. So take that back off. You have your hierarchy, which is this window over here, your properties, which is this window over here, your main toolbar, which is this up here, mode toolbar, which is your this guy over here, and your preview, which is of course that button over there. You have rulers, which I actually added. That won't be there by default. I added that when I was playing around with the editor. But it comes in handy if you want exact setups for your UI. You can also do guides, which if you click on it, it doesn't show anything. But if you pull from the ruler and set a guide, you can do it that way. And of course, if you wanted to lock the guides, you can do that. So it'll stay there for you so you can have a reference. And if we move that and go to clear, it clears the guides for us. And of course, you have different options like draw borders on unselected items. You can set the current language and reload all fonts. All right, so if you look over here, we have a default component that's mandatory. You cannot remove this. You can't delete it. So we have our draw order, and this is for referencing different canvases. So if you have multiple canvases inside the world, this draw order would make more sense. The higher this number, the more above the canvas is. So if you have 3 canvases set at 0, and then you set this one at 1, this is going to be on top of the other 2. And of course, we have the is pixel aligned, is text pixel aligned. If you hover over those, it gives you an explanation of what those mean. Render to texture, which we'll be diving into in another video. These 2 are unselected. Well, this is selected. If you're not doing a mobile phone game or dealing with any kind of touch devices, laptops, iPads, whatever, then you can uncheck this. Handle navigation, we want to have that. And all these are just defaulted elements that you can actually leave alone unless you have a reason to change them. And of course, if you're dealing with texture atlases, you're going to add them here. So now we want to get into creating a default HUD, which is going to be the mainstay for this tutorial series where we're going to hook up and animate in other videos. So one thing that you have on most UIs is a health bar. You might have weapon image with weapon names. If it's a gun, you might have like the leftover ammo. If it's a sword, you might have something that indicates that it might break if you use it too often, something like that. Or maybe a charge module that charges every time you hit, and then maybe it releases a blast on a full bar. So we're going to incorporate those kind of things. So let's go to new. As you can see here, we have empty element, which is just a empty element. And what you can do with this is actually kind of build up your own prefab or slice And then you can save that as its own slice and then bring that back into the UI for either other games or use it as like a template or things like that, or as even a piece or module for like an inventory system. So empty element, which we're not going to use, let's delete that. We go to new and we go to slice library. We have a lot of default elements that we can use, which is what we're going to be using. So let's go ahead. We want to click on first the slider, which is going to give us a default slider. And we're going to use this as our health bar. So if I go to this guy and move it over, or move it up rather, move it over, and actually let me put that in the corner there, and then move it down, move it over. And this fill, the handle, I'm going to delete the handle. I'm going to take the track, and I'm going to go for the scale button. Now I want to actually move this over this way. I want to move this up about right there. So about 40 for the height, about 40. I'm going to take the fill and actually make that 40 as well. And for the slider, if I go down to the slider component, as you can see the values down here, which correlates to the fill amount for the slider, is set at 25%. If I set this at 100, then it's going to be at 100. And if I go to preview, you see that it's 100% right there. So that works. The last thing I'm going to do is go to the fill. I'm going to change the color to like a dark green, or maybe a light green. All right. Now the next thing we want to do is add a weapon icon. So I'm going to go over to the slider. I'm going to change its name to health bar. I'm going to go to new, slice library, image. I'm going to call it weapon image. I'm going to put this in the bottom right corner. I want to scale it down, make it a little bit more square. Then I'm going to go to the move it up a little bit, and move it over a little bit, like that. That'll be our weapon icon. What I want to do is add another item from the slice library called text. I'm going to change this to a white. Bring it down. I'm going to call this my weapon. Of course, you can call it an actual weapon. And then I'm going to actually call this the weapon title. I'm going to duplicate this, copy, paste, and call this ammo text. Bring it down. And this is going to be set at ammo. We're going to call it ammo. And what I'm going to do is actually grab a image slice. I'm going to call this border, or rather divider. Go to the scale, make it really thin, small, put it in the corner, bring it over. It's going to act as a divider between the ammo and the actual, well, the ammo text and the actual ammo. So make it a little bit more thinner. I think I want to change the font and use some of the available fonts inside of the Lumberyard. I'll probably use the bold. Yeah, let's use that. Move it a little bit closer. Move this. So I actually won't need that. I'll probably delete that. No, I'll leave it. And then the ammo, same thing. Click there, bold, move it over. And then one more text, which we can just paste since I already have it copied, and call it the ammo count. And we can move this right here. And I'm just going to put 0 right there, which it's just going to already be on the right side, I'm going to actually put this on the left like that. Yeah. So very simple. Something very simple like that. So I'm going to actually add one more thing, and that's going to be a crosshair. So another image. I'm going to put this to be 16 by 16, which is the usual image size for a crosshair. I'm going to call this crosshair. And make sure that it's directly in the middle, so I don't have to do any offsets. Yep, there we go. Yeah, that's the video for today, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have any questions or comments, maybe there's something about the UI that I haven't covered, that I might not cover in this 4-part series that you want to see, let me know down below. If you did like this button, give it a thumbs up. Always helps the channel with engagement and numbers and all that good stuff. Don't forget to join our Discord if you guys have any questions that are outside of YouTube or just want to hang out. Most importantly, if you want to really support the channel, share the video on social media, Reddit, Twitter, whatever the case, Facebook, wherever you can. But other than that, hope you guys are having a very dope day. Hope you guys are prospering in your projects. And until next time, keep developing.